countdown to economic collapse.
This is Countdown to Economic Collapse, November 25th, 2012. I'm David John Sponheim, running for President of the United States of America. Well, this past week has shown a rebound. Stock market tilted over 13,000 in the Dow, all because of Black Friday sales, supposedly. But what does that really mean? It means people are borrowing more and more to finance their American dream, the thing that they've been programmed to participate in, consumerism. And consumerism is leading to a greater national debt. Even though it looks rosy on the outside, the economy is actually very, very bad. In August, consumer spending credit rose to $18 billion above the previous month. And we're seeing that Hurricane Sandy triggered a tremendous amount of spending. In one day, from November 14th to November 15th, the amount of the debt increased by $34 billion. Now, I don't know anyone who can justify this kind of spending except the Republicans and Democrats. They are the ones that are systematically bankrupting our nation. If you're as concerned as I am about the future of our economy and our country, we're going to have to look at a different model for expenditures. So far, the nation has engaged in a process called globalization, where our country borrows from other countries. Those countries produce tremendous amount of goods imported into our country at a low cost, and we consume them, and we put them in our landfills. So clearly this consumeristic model is not working for this country. It's not sustainable. We're ultimately going to lose. Unless our exports increase dramatically, we're going to end up eating the bag. That means having to pay back this huge debt and ultimately have to answer to people in the international monetary scene, like the IMF and the World Bank. Well, isn't that convenient? That's exactly what they want us to do. They want to break our country down with ridiculous immigration policies coming from the UN. We want to ultimately get away from the IMF, but they keep pulling us back because they install whoever they want as president. In this particular election, Barack Obama got reelected because they want him in there. He does their bidding. He's a good puppet. So the IMF and the World Bank essentially are running the monetary policy behind the whole thing. And you're wondering who the intermediary player is. It's the Federal Reserve. They are the ones who are trained and working directly with the IMF, and they are the ones handling our national debt. How is a private banking concern like the Federal Reserve handling our national debt when the American people should have total control over their currency? By law, the Constitution requires that the Congress set the amount of monetary value currency has, not the Federal Reserve. And the law specifically is being subverted by the Federal Reserve Act. Now, clearly, if we don't end the Fed, we're going to be facing their huge balloon loan payments that are due. And that's in addition to the national debt. The Federal Reserve admitted to loaning out $16 trillion themselves over the past 4 years. That's right. Shocking, isn't it? That's on top of the national debt. So we have a huge behemoth problem lurking underneath the rosy, peachy news that the stock market's doing just fine. Well, we have to look deeper at the problem because that's where the undertow is. Everyone knows that a riptide can occur in any wave action and start pulling things down. Now, the stock market is based on confidence. A small blip of confidence that Black Friday sales are up gives it a little lift. But you know, they're riding on very thin ice, so that little lift isn't going to take them through the next week and on into next week beyond that. It's going to basically keep the undertow coming in and pulling us down. Now, if you look at the big picture about jobs, housing, and production, we're seeing jobs pretty much flatline, if not drop. And we're seeing consumer spending increase during the holiday season, but credit will increase dramatically and defaults will happen as well. Now, we've talked about the student loan crisis, $1.3 trillion outstanding, with a default rate of 13.9%. People are not paying their student loans back. We're seeing a potential problem in that area. Barack Obama has simply endorsed the plan by Ben Bernanke to continue printing up money, QE3, where he puts out $40 billion a month to buy up mortgage-backed securities to keep his cronies in the banking industry happy. Meanwhile, our country gets poorer and poorer, and the interest on that debt increases and increases until December, when it hits the fiscal cliff at the end of the month, where we're going to see mandatory cuts in food stamps. There's talk about people in Ohio getting $50 a month less in food stamps. I'm sure that's going to play out across the board among all the 50 states. And Barack Obama's socialist economy, which he's propped up to get reelected, will fall apart. Unemployment will be canceled at the 99-week level or perhaps earlier, and our country will stop spending money on people who have disabilities, who are old. That's what's going to happen. And it's a very serious problem that the American people are seemingly unaware of. You see, we relied on these two-party politicians to get our job done, which is to keep the country fiscally sound, and they didn't deliver. In fact, they closed down early in a lame duck session last month, and they basically aren't working rapidly to fix the problem either. There's stalemates up ahead between the two parties, and that in and of itself is a reason for a third party that will negotiate and barter between both sides to find a compromise so that we can essentially move forward with a plan that's fiscally sound and provides a safety net for the American people. Now, I'm, as you know, an average man with an above average intelligence who can look at any problem systemically and analyze its biggest faults and fix those faults. As your leader in 2017, I hope to be that person to pick up where everyone left off, to find solutions that will create jobs, like our Homestead Renewal Plan, which will create 5 million jobs in 4 years, or our solar rooftop plan, which will create over 1 million jobs, putting rooftop solar systems on houses across the nation, where you pay for it out of your electric bill, and the electric bill goes down in cost. So you save, and you have an incentive to buy a hybrid or an electric vehicle, and you'll be able to save on gas in the future. These are revolutionary ideas that will ultimately power up this nation, literally. So if we don't retool and rethink politics rather quickly, the economic undertow will begin to pull us down, and there's nothing they'll be able to do. Printing money in and of itself will not solve the problem. We actually have to create products. We actually have to find things the other countries in the world want to buy. We should definitely put a lot of effort into making our soil more productive and producing more agriculture. And we've seen Obama see agriculture slip by 2% per year since he became president. These are significant problems that, if they're not remedied, we're going to see a veritable collapse in the economy. It's just a question of when, not if it's going to happen. That's why we keep doing this show every 2 weeks now, because we're monitoring the economic situation around the world and how it affects people here in America. Now, you can't even really see the effects when you look at the big picture. You have to look into the details. The devil is in the details. Lower quality of education, no opportunity for young people who are graduating from high school and college to get jobs, no job market, declining production across the board in manufacturing. These are significant problems that, if not remedied, will take our country into a terrible downward cycle. So I'm not here to preach doom and gloom. I'm actually here to preach positivity, to talk about a political direction our country can go in that will be simple to understand, yet very effective and easy to grow and multiply. You see, if we bring illegal aliens into our country like Obama's doing, 1 million per year getting green cards, and we continue to weaken the infrastructure of big states like California and New York, with all these social spending Obama's pushing, we will eventually not be able to pay our debts, and many checks will not be signed by state budgets. That day is approaching soon. Municipalities are closing up. They're actually going belly up and going bankrupt. Cities around the country are unable to meet the demand of their own interest payment on their debt. Yet there's a lot of money secretly stashed away in pension funds. And one of the reasons why I'm running for president at this time, and many people say, David, why don't you try for a lower office? Well, for one, a third party won't grab a local audience, because I want to cut pension plans for public workers. I want to go after those things and make them more realistic and relatively low compared to the rest of us. We are not all earning $90,000 a year, but But many of the pension plans are putting that amount of money out. So over a 10-year period, we're going to be looking at a $2 trillion drain just for around 4 million people to collect huge pension plans. And many of them are double dipping, meaning they're getting their pension plan and they're going after their Social Security check and adding it to their slush fund of fun money that they can go out and spend wherever they want. Meanwhile, the rest of us, that means 307 million people in America, are going without. We are still in a spin down and our recession is turning into a depression. And Obama has not come up with any real solutions to the key systemic flaws in the economy. But we'll keep you posted every 2 weeks here at America's Third Party's Countdown to Economic Collapse. I'm David John Sponheim for America's Third Party, and I support this message.